Hello and welcome to the Nothing Is Wrong with You book podcast. We are the book podcasters and we're so excited to have you here with us today. We have an exciting show where we are going to be taking a question from one of our listeners that we will be discussing today. But before we get into that, we always like to share with you what we're currently reading. And I'm going to start with you today, Athena. What are you reading right now or have recently finished reading?
Yes, so what I recently finished that I loved all three, which is nice, I read Bug Hollow. This was great. I've never read anything by, is it Michelle Huneven, I think is how you say it. But it was recommended and I found like I do, I found an ARC of it and I picked it up and it was just a lovely family story about the Samuelsons and oh, it's just great. It's a I don't know, I'm doing a horrible job summarizing this, but it's about this family in California and a freak accident and how that affects them and ripples through the family for the rest of all of their lives. But beautiful. Love that. That was really good. This is not my typical reading experience, so I want to do a shout out. This book I'm holding up is called "I See You've Called In Dead" by John Kenney. You've got to read this, y'all. So I went on a trip with my students. I run a program for high school students to LaConner, Washington, and I went to Seaport Books, their local bookstore. And I love talking to independent booksellers about books. It's like one of my favorite hobbies in the world. And the sweet guy in there said, "Have you read I See You've Called In Dead?" And I was like, "Nah, it's not usually my kind of genre. It's fiction, but it's kind of comedy or just like a, you know what I mean? I guess that's how you put it, like the genre for it. But it's about this obituary writer. And he's going through a lot in his life. And one night when he's drunk, he writes his own obituary and by accident posts it online. So so he gets in a lot of trouble at work because they're like, "You are not dead," and you just put your and of course it's this ridiculous obituary, but it's this ends up being this beautiful story with a friend of his where they end up going to other people's funerals as just guests to learn about lives people have lived. And then so some of the chapters will be like Molly Donnelly 43, like and it just and then they go and they learn about these people and how obituaries often are so they just don't hold the real whole message of a person's life. So it's really beautiful. I recommend it. It's kind of a feel good too, but there's something about this book that I just loved and I wanted to like stay in there with him. Here you go. Okay, you all have to read this. Have you read this one? It's so good.
It's on everybody's list. I see this. I see that cover everywhere
Yes.
on my
Maggie
Instagram.
or A Man and a Woman Walk into a Bar by Katie Yee. I loved it. This is such a great it's just a beautiful book about the messiness of relationships and trying to like get through when something happens in your relationship and you don't kind of know where next to step, right? I'm trying to think of how to summarize this. You all know that I can talk about books forever, but I'm horrible at summarizing why I liked it. This is why I need English teachers in my life to help me. Like, why? What's the why? But it's just it's messy and it's about her struggle to get over what happens in the relationship without kind of ruining it and how she's trying to figure out a way through um and still taking care of her family. But it's beautiful. So I recommend this one too. Yeah. I feel like I'm not giving this one enough. Maybe if I have a moment. You know how when you're like you have all these thoughts in your head about something that you really love and then when you go to talk about it you're like, "It was great."
Where do I start? Yeah.
So
When you get back from an amazing trip and people are like, "How was your trip?" And you're like, "It was awesome."
I know.
And you don't even know where to begin.
I
Yeah.
did. I'd really love to talk about this with both of you. So read it if you have time. It's a tiny one. You know what I mean?
Oh, I love me a short
Yeah.
book.
But I will continue on with the next person. But maybe if something more comes to me, I'll let you know. But yeah. So those are my three. Okay, Colleen, I'm gonna pass it to you.
Okay. I there's one. This is something that this is a nonfiction book. It's called On Breathing: Care in a Time of Catastrophe by Jamieson Webster. I think she's like a Freudian psychologist actually at NYU. I don't know.
Hmm.
And it's all about breathing. Like it's just about breath and it's a little more esoteric than I was maybe looking for, but the chapters are like or the sections are like I stopped at the section called anxiety.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I'm not going to read that. First breath. So then there's all these essays about first breath, and it's just about how breath plays a role in life, and not in like a yogi way. It's really, it's curious. So whenever I dip in and read my 3 or 4 pages, it's very interesting. So I think I'll be glad to have read it. I'm not like always going back to it, but I think I'll get through it. And then the 2 books that I just like literally probably finished within the week, I read We Do Not Part, the new Kang book. She won the Nobel Prize. Again, I thought it was good. I've talked before about her work. It's stunning. It's stunning work. It is about a woman who has to go to a very far village in Korea to save her friend's bird who during a snowstorm, and what all that brings up.
Mhm.
It's
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
I like I love that that's what it's about. That's what it's about. That's what happens. That's the action. And then a book that I'm 100% teaching next year in my Women in Violence class, and that is a class about women who perpetrate violence, is called The Simple Art of Killing a Woman by Patrícia Melo. This is a book that Amazon has said to me for like a year, you might want this book. And finally I was like, yes, I do want that book. And it takes place in Brazil, and about violence done against women, and it runs parallel to the story of these women in the Amazon that like were just lived by themselves and like didn't want men in it. And it's very good. It was very, very good read. So I would recommend that too if people are looking for I mean, it's not, I forget sometimes the calluses I have for books like that. So it's really about like it's violent, but I thought it was really worth the time. What about you, Rebecca?
Yeah, so I listened to audiobooks. So the one that I just finished was The Book of Lost Hours by Hayley Gelfuso, maybe saying that right. I loved it. It was about time. But basically it starts with there's this time space place that's like a library of memories, which is a beautiful way of thinking about how memories get stored. And this girl, there's these people that have access to time space. They're not time travelers, but they're people that just have access to time and memory. And her dad was one of the people that would get in with a watch, like he was a watchmaker. And it was World War II, things were happening. So he sticks her in there and says, just stay here, stay safe, I'll come back later. And because she didn't have the watch or anything, she had no way to get out. And so she just got lost in this time space. And of course, he never came back. Him and her brother ended up going to the camps. And so she was just stuck in the time space. And so she witnessed these other people coming in and destroying memories, like lighting them on fire. And so she had this, because one of the ones that was getting burnt was her father's, the first one, because it was the memory on how to build these time things to get into the space. And also a lot of people at the time were burning memories of World War II. Like in some way you think about, this is how politicians rewrite history. They take away what really happened and what people really remember of that to make it into something else, is kind of what was going on. And so she becomes this person to try to save memories, and in the end creates like this whole movement that does this. But I don't want to give it all away because it's actually really brilliant. And it also has a love story in it. It has like intrigue and mystery, but also this moment of what time is, and how the importance of memory, and then what we do when we rewrite history.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was good.
That sounds right up your alley.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'm also reading And so it's really interesting to me how books come to us, right? Like a lot of times, like, you know, Athena, you're like, I saw it in ARC and I just picked it up, or like someone recommended, or like this last one, Colleen, where you're like, Amazon kept telling me you might like this book.
Yep.
This one randomly came to me on Instagram. I think it was one of those, like, the book you should be reading based on your astrology from Hay House.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
Okay.
all right, I'm going to take it. I don't know why that came up on my feed right now, but I'm buying it. And that is Your Soul Had a Dream and Your Life Is It by Rebecca Campbell. It's really interesting. It's kind of talking about the shadow side of life and like really understanding purpose and why you're here. And so
That's cool.
I read it occasionally.
Yeah.
I'm not like
and dip out. Yeah.
deep. Yeah, it's one of those like, okay, at night I'll read a chapter.
Yeah.
And then the shocker of all shockers. Drum roll, please. I just picked this up from the library. A Truce is Not Peace. So I have not started reading this. I just got it. But this is on the recommendation of Athena. And there will be wrath to pay if it is horrible.
Loved it.
As Colleen knows from this author.
I know. I loved it. I hope you like it.
The fact that it's memoir is probably much better.
Oh, it's a memoir?
Yeah.
Oh, sold. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's exactly why I picked it up, Colleen. Because I thought it was fiction. So I was like, I'm not reading her fiction. And I know Colleen, you'd even tried to read some of her other fiction and didn't like it. But this is a memoir. Yeah. I don't know what it's about. I just picked it up. Athena could probably tell you more. But
it's all right. I was just curious what the kind of guiding animated.
Well, I like that. So I'm just going to read the back because I have mine here. So it starts with, why do you write? The organizer of a literary event in Mexico City asks the author. And so each attempted answer from her surfaces new layers of grief, guilt, and futility connected to her.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I need to read this immediately.
Yes, you do.
Okay. Ordering immediately.
I loved it. I hope you liked it.
I want to say, Athena, that I put my hold on the library as soon as you told me about it, because it just came out, and I am the first person here in Bellingham library system
I love a first library book.
Yeah. So I want you to know that I listened and I got it right away. For those of you who are new to our podcast and might not know that our very first podcast, we talked about this author and a disagreement that Colleen and I had on her first, on the novel. I don't know if it was her first novel, but Women Talking.
It was not her first novel. I don't think at all.
So I'm just throwing that out there. If you're like, what are these people talking about?
We are referring to season 1 of the podcast.
First episode, season 1. Go watch it. Yeah. You'll know the backstory to what we're talking. So anyway, I'm actually excited to start reading.
Tell me the truth.
So thank you.
I know you will. You always tell me the truth.
Oh yeah. Just ask Colleen.
Tell us how you really feel. That's why we're here.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for sharing your books that you're currently reading. They all sound really exciting. I have some notes already of ones that I want to pick up as well. So today we have been asked about rereading books and what that experience is like. Like, is it like, do you get the same thing out of it? Does it disappoint you the second time around? Are there spaces where you just don't go back to books and you just read it once, or what that process is? And I'm going to just preface all of this to just discount or not discuss, unless I really want to, books that you have to read for school. Like I feel like I was looking through my list and I'm thinking, I've read like Handmaid's Tale, or I've read Beloved, or I've read like all these. It's just that the next class was also taking on that book as well. So I'm just throwing that out there, unless that's really the area that you want to talk about. So it's more like an elected, I want to go back and read this book. And then what was that experience in that space? So I have a list already of ones that I want to talk about. I'm just curious, we'll start with you, Colleen. Do you go back to reading books?
No.
And no.
No. Well, I can tell you why. So if you had asked me 20 years ago what my favorite book was, I would immediately have had an answer. Prayer for Owen Meany, John Irving, hands down. Best book I've ever read. And then I reread it and I hated it.
Oh,
I found it verbose. I found it self-aggrandizing. It was the only book I was like, maybe I'll reread this. Like I loved that book.
yeah.
And I don't even have a copy of it now
Wow.
because I had such a visceral change of heart. It was awful. Actually, it was a really terrible experience. And I had seen John Irving at AWP a little bit before that, and he seemed like a total not cool guy.
Oh no.
And I think maybe that informed my reading of it
That'll
too.
do it.
But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna leave those cherished things alone. And also, I should say, I have to reread books all the time because I teach them. And so there are if I'm going to reread a book, it's because I have to. And so I want to make, and this listener had asked about that. Like, I think that the person that asked the question likes to reread books and almost thinks of it as like anti-capitalist. And I do get stressed out by like, oh, I've read this many books and I've read this many books. And so I do not reread books because I want to keep reading and I need to like get more clicks on my belt. Right. It's because for me, it has not been a positive experience.
Yeah.
And I have to do it for work. So I am not a rereader. I'm of the mindset of there's so many books, like I want to read another book and I don't want to reread it.
Right.
So I will sometimes go back to pages. And for my writer self, I will take pictures of pages and put them in my notes app. Like, so I do go back to things, but to sit with a whole book again never happens for me.
Yeah.
What about you, Athena?
I not intentionally, or that I'm like, thinking of it, but I don't really reread fiction. I found. It's very rare that I go back. Like you said, I'll do like passages or certain just sentences I think are beautiful that I'll reference. But I noticed that all my rereads are nonfiction. Like I go back to Annie Dillard over and over again. Like I just I love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just hopefully it's not off topic. I don't know if you're just saying fiction when we're talking reread, but like
no, any book.
Like I love anything she does. Like to the point where it's a little like, is this a fetish where like I buy, like this is a first edition, so I bought it even though I have the other copy of this. I just love it.
Well, that's a beautiful book.
Yeah,
she's holding up "Teaching a Stone to Talk" by Annie Dillard, and it's
gorgeous. Thank you.
And I would maybe go back and read an essay.
Yeah,
but I'm. Yeah. Even poetry, I just don't.
Well,
I might go back to a poem.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to read the whole book again.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say is poetry. I go back and reread poetry. Things like this I reread all the time. I love this book. It's called Home Ground: A Guide to the American Landscape, by Barry Lopez and his wife Deborah Courtney. But it's a dictionary of like terms from the landscape, like basin. Let me see, jetty, gallery, forest. But what they did is they asked all these different authors to write definitions of these different meanings of place. So like John Krakauer writes what face means, like a mountain face. Like Robert Morgan writes fall line. Gretel Ehrlich, who I also go back and read all the time. I love her memoirs about being struck by lightning and Match to the Heart. But she wrote the definition of stream, right? So like Terry Tempest Williams, this kind of. So I tend to go back to nature writing, which is like one of my favorite genres it's like usually things that I return to and feel the closest to. So that, and then I'll do short stories again and again. Like I love Lydia Davis because it's just like, I mean, there's look at my bookmark. Sorry.
For the people just listening.
But that's a ghost. There's a ghost.
Oh, you could have guessed.
Yes, I love this company. Let's do a shout out to Humdrum Paper. They make the best. Like I have a leaf by them, a banana. Like their bookmarks are amazing. But like her stories are like crazy short stories. So like Encounter in Landscape is a woman in bifocals missing one tooth asked the way of a woman in sunglasses missing 3 teeth on a cloudy day. Like that's one of her short stories. Like I love Lydia Davis because they're great. She's just a brilliant French translator too, but they're interesting. So I tend to like pick those up again and again as well. So like short story collections are, much as I'll go fiction reread. and then nature writing and nonfiction poetry. Yeah.
Is that because you want to keep moving forward? Is that because it doesn't speak to you the same way the second time? Like why do you think you and I are, it sounds kind of similar. Like why do you think for you?
Yeah, I just feel like I think generally, and even with the picks I talked about going back to, like I don't do that a lot. Like I'll reference more than anything, but not even if I like mark it all the way down, I tend to not go back. And I think it's because when I was standing at the library one day, I heard one of the librarians say they calculated, and I've probably talked about this on the podcast before, how old they are and how many books they have time left to read. And it haunted me because I heard his age and it was like mine. And I'm like, I don't want to know. Because like, I don't want to know. It's sad for me. But like, I think it's part of that. Like, I just want to keep reading because there's so much. Now, what's interesting though, is I live with a rereader. Like when I talked to my husband, I was talking to him the other day and he reads Tolkien, rereads Lord of the Rings, the whole thing every year. He goes back to.
I was just going to say, I have a friend that reads the Golden Notebook every year.
Yep.
She goes back to this book every single year. I'm like, are you insane?
Yep.
But it's something about that practice for her is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think what's interesting about that, and I'll get into some of my reason in this, but there's this whole conversation that's happening in the world because of what's happening in the world, of how people go back to comfort shows. Because you know the story, like you don't, you're not, it's not an unknown, like you know what's going to happen. So people go back to watching like Gilmore Girls or whatever it, ER. I have no idea what people go back to, but they're comfort shows from their childhood or whatever. And it's because it's known.
Right.
And so in some ways that could be a reason why people go back to a book is it's a known story and they get to kind of just go back in that space. So especially if you're not a TV watcher and you don't have those comfort shows you go to, maybe rereading the book is like a comfort book of just, I know this story and I'm just going to let some of the stress of the world go away and go back into this known story.
And that's interesting because my husband doesn't watch TV. He doesn't. He could live without a television in the house. So I think that's interesting that you say that, you know? Yeah. What about you?
It's a conversation that's out there right now. People talking about going back to comfort shows and what that means for your psyche and in that space. So it's interesting. I would assume it'd be the same with comfort movies or whatever.
What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, well, interesting. Like I did not even look at memoir in this space because I go back to memoir a lot because much like you, Colleen, that's what I teach. And so I'm like, I can't even tell you how many times I read Bad Indians, a lot, because I'm constantly teaching that book because I love it so much and it's so important. But I really thought about what fictions I have gone back to. And there's things that I've read over, and I think it's more that comfort space. Like I've taken Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice on vacations with me as just like an extra thing to have, like a little paperback to throw in there that, to your point, Colleen, if you have to leave it or something happens to it, like it's okay, but I'm not stuck in an airport with like nothing to read. So in some ways I tend to go back to those. But the ones that I've read more than 4 times are the ones that I'm going to talk about today. More than 4 times. So the one that's really interesting and is that I don't often think about, but when I thought about like how many times I read it, is Rebecca.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's because it was introduced to my life early on because of my name. And so I think when I read it, I was really young the first time, and then I read it again later when I was older. And so it's not something I read recently a lot, but I did for a while there go back to this maybe every 3 years or something. I'd just pick up Rebecca again and reread it.
I've never read that book.
Curious.
I'm going to guess I'm never going to.
I love it.
Wow.
I don't know.
Another book that I have read so many times and is Bee Season by Mila Goldberg.
Oh, this is your book though. But this is your book.
Like, look at that.
Oh,
this is like all my chats.
This is
And
your
this
book
is
that
actually
hasn't been destroyed for you.
Yeah, that makes me actually
Pardon?
want to go back and reread it, seeing all your tabs. That's beautiful.
Yeah, this is your book that hasn't been destroyed for you. I mean, that's what my copy of
Yeah.
Ellen Meany looked like.
Yeah. So this has been actually re-tabbed 3 times.
Wow.
So I tabbed it when I first read it. Shout out to Dorothy Posh of reading this in your class, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. And then I reread it again and re-tabbed it, and then I reread it again for my book and re-tabbed it again.
Wow.
And I think for me, it's the characters are so well developed that I constantly kind of think about them.
Mhm.
Miriam haunts me. And I think some of that is, and I talk about this a lot in my other work, is that these are patterns that you can see in literature that mirror or reflect back patterns of yourself.
Mhm.
And so in some way, I think Miriam, there's some connection there that I'm still working through. But anyway, Miriam,
Okay.
obsessed.
I love that.
So that's why I keep going back to it, because she sits in my head constantly.
I got to reread that.
Another one that we've talked about on this book podcast, and this is a nonfiction, not a memoir, but is The Order of Time.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. And I have read the book, the physical book, 3 times, and I've listened to the book 3 times. I love listening to the book. It's Benedict Cumberbatch reading it.
Oh, well, I would be much more interested then.
That's the perfect person. I didn't know that.
Correct answer. Yes, the perfect person.
That's amazing.
So when I just want him talking to me while I'm walking, I re-listen to this.
Always a good voice.
And finally, the other book that I have read so many times, and actually, if you've listened to our last podcast that we posted was about the book club, this was one that I read as part of a book club. And I had previously, again, the way books come to you. So someone had talked to me about this when I was teaching at a university before I moved to Washington, and they were like, I think you should really read this book. And I was like, I didn't pay attention to it. And then it was part of this book club. And I was like, okay. And at the time, I didn't actually read it. I listened to it. And this was when books came on tapes. So I like carrying multiple tapes with me on the bus here in Bellingham and listening to it. And I just loved it. And I have listened to it again, probably 3 or 4 times. And I have physically read it 2 times. And that is The Book Thief.
I was going to say, this better be The Book Thief.
Yeah.
If not, I was like, if it's not, I don't know what it is. I read it thanks to you. I did read it.
Now I have to go back and do like a reread. Now you're making me want to reread things, which I never do with fiction. But you're passionate about it. It's like, maybe I should.
Well, I think it's part of that comfort. It's like, I know this story. And for me, like for The Book Thief and for Bee Season mainly, because they're the ones that I've gone to the most, it's the characters. I want to go back to the characters.
Yeah.
And I've reread some big series, like you were mentioning that your husband like reread The Lord of the Rings. I have not done that, but there's another big series that I've read, The Wheel of Time, that I've reread 3 times. And that's a 13 book series.
Wow, Rebecca.
But that's also that kind of, that was when I got back into books in my early 20s. And so it's like that kind of connecting back with characters for me. It's like going back to old friends in some way.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Joan Didion or Sylvia Plath. I'm surprised that those two
are. Well, see, that's where I didn't do any memoir, because I do read a lot. I do reread a lot of memoir. Okay. Like Alexander Fuller is another one that I've read multiple times. Right. Like, because I see those as, that's my work.
Gotcha.
And these are more like electives of like, because if I went to my library and looked at everything I've read multiple times, there's a lot. Like, I mean, I think even how many times have you read, Colleen, The Lord of the Flies? Like, you know, I feel like
for teaching, right? Like,
correct. That's what I mean.
Like, and I'm so excited. My daughter's reading that this year for school, and I was like, Ev, that is the reason I became an English teacher. And when I taught, I still have it. It's the book I had from 10th grade
That's amazing.
That's
I
the
have mine from 10th grade too.
book I taught out of then. That was the copy I used to teach from.
Wow.
And I will die with that book probably in my hand. But I don't ever think of that as rereading. And I'm afraid, what if if I reread that now, what if I didn't like it then? And then I'd be like devastated. I'd be like, my whole life is a sham.
Oh no.
No, but I think I just got burned so bad with Owen Meany that I just couldn't, I don't want to.
Right.
I don't rewatch shows either.
Yep.
I don't rewatch movies. I don't do any of those things. I don't know what my problem is. Something's wrong with me, I guess.
No.
But I don't do that anymore. I just there's so much exciting stuff. Like I'm always like, oh my God, I'm missing out on so much already. I want to experience more. And so I'm always really tentative about going back to something. Mm-hmm. Like when I read Evelyn Hugo, everybody was like, oh my gosh, is that the first time you're reading it? I'm like, yeah, first and only. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, although I am teaching it. So I am excited to go back to it.
Oh, wow.
But I just thought that was such a weird question. Is that your first time reading it? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. How many times have you read it? Like what? People read it all the time. They reread that book all the time because the characters, I think it's a show, right? It's like sitting with a show. I think that's a good point about not having a TV or spending more time comfort watching, reading. That's comfort reading.
Yeah, I think because again, looking at these two books, like I think The Book Thief is just, I loved the story. I loved Death as the narrator. And I think for me, sometimes going back to another episode we talked about, which is audiobooks, like the first time I heard this, like I have that Death voice, like the guy who reads it in my head, even when I'm reading this book. And so that's also like this kind of comforting space of like hearing his voice as I'm reading. But for me, it's just the story. I like the story. B season's a study for me. Like there's something there. So they're two different reasons why I go back. But I mean, if someone was like, you have to read both of those today, I'd be like, okay.
Oh, I love that. Isn't that beautiful? That's how I always feel about Annie Dillard. I'm like, yeah, I can read that anytime. You know,
sure.
any moment, any one of them too. Like, what was I going to say? Oh, I love when you talked about throwing that book in your bag, like having the Jane Eyre, just because I have things that like stay on my nightstand and like I won't let them leave. It's almost like a weird like superstition, but it's like Ted Kujer's like poems in letters that he wrote with Jim Harrison, where it's like it's just they wrote back and forth, but then they never. I've never talked about this book. It's so beautiful. I don't think I have on this podcast, but where they decided not to figure out when they were putting the book together whose was whose. So you can't ever tell, like when you're reading it, which poem belongs to which person. I love that. I always keep that there. And then also, and I say that because I travel with it too. And then any Patty Ann Rogers book, I always stick in my bag when I'm traveling. It's like a weird superstitious thing. But I think it's because I know that like, if all else fails and I hate what I've brought with me, I know her poetry will always be good because it's just so amazing. So I'll bring like her collected works with me because I just know it's like something I love. I love Patty Ann Rogers. I know I say that all the time, but there's like a few poets that I just am amazed by, like she is. But anyway.
There's nothing worse than being on a trip and you finish the book and you have a flight home and you're like, oh, now I have to either go get something at the airport bookstore, which you hope that you pick a good one. I've had horrible experiences where I pick something very bad and I force myself to just keep reading it because otherwise I'm just going to sit here and look at the seat in front of me.
Christmas, Missoula, Montana. I'll never forget. I picked the wrong book and it ruined my vacation. It haunts me. It haunts me still.
Lesson learned.
So this is where, if you have a book that you've liked, potentially take that with you. That's something that you know the story, that it is a rereading in some way. Could be a way like that. Again, Jane Eyre's been one of those that I take on this.
Yeah, I love Jane Eyre. I love it.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be moving into the next portion of our podcast, which is the recommendation. But before we get in there, I just want to check in to see if there's any last thoughts on rereading. I know, Athena, you've mentioned some, but has anyone else experienced that kind of like ruination of the novel after rereading it, or like what you thought about it compared to the second time around?
You're lucky if you haven't.
Yeah.
It's a yeah.
I think it does happen, right? Like I think about one that I've read a couple times was Generation X by Douglas Copeland. And I think when I read that the first time, I was like super like, this is amazing. And then, or it might have been his microsurfs, but it was one of those that when I went to read it the second time, I was like, oh, but it was because it was so rooted in time and place and right. And so you read it later and it from generations later, and you're just like,
Yeah.
you know, it
Yes,
still
that's
resonates
kind
in
of
some
like
way.
Fight Club. Like if I had to read Fight Club today, I know I've read that a few times, but if I had to read it today, I'd be like, oh my God, please no, please don't make me read that book. Like and I would have been so passionate about it all those years ago. That book, that's like Prozac Nation. Like if I had to read that now, I'd be miserable, but I loved that book when that came out.
That is so true.
I think maybe I kind of feel like Owen Meany should have did you guys read that? Have you ever read that book? Prayer for Owen Meany?
No.
Oh, well, I mean, 20 years ago, I'd have been like, what do you mean? And now I'm like, don't. So maybe that's a warning about rereading.
I know. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, that could be a whole other thing. Like, what's been ruined for you for whatever reason?
Oh, everything. I can't have nice things. I give you a list of 30 books that have been ruined for me.
Right? That could be another podcast. Like, I mean, discussion.
But this was a good question that somebody asked us because it got us all really thinking about something.
I know
that, and I like that it was kind of like thinking about it, rooting it against like an anti-capitalist. We must continue to consume.
Right.
I like that. I like that framing.
Yep.
Yeah, but I also think that's an interesting way of how we talk about supporting authors and books, because people are still writing. Their stories still to be told. And so this is where I always go back to, and I'm not going to remember the author's name. You will remember, Athena, but it's the author that was in the Booker, that she was in a Sydney writers conference and said, think of books as like a river through your home, like support independent bookstores, support authors. And even if you never read the book, but just like that rivers of books just going through your home, because you're supporting the art of storytelling, the art of people sharing their stories. I think of that all the time when I question of like, should I buy this book? I'm like, rivers of books, rivers of books. If it sits on my like to be read pile for a long time and I never get to it and it goes into the local like free library, then it is what it is, right? It's rivers of books. Yeah. Do you remember who that was, Athena?
I don't.
It's the person that did Stoneyard.
Oh, Charlotte. Darn it. Stoneyard Devotional. What's her name? Charlotte. And I'm blanking on her last name. Not horrible.
We'll take Charlotte. That's half of it.
Sorry, Charlotte. I loved your book.
Rivers of Books.
I love that. Rivers of Books. I'm just curious too. Like I love reading new stuff because I'm just, I really, I just love to discover new books, and it's exciting.
I think that is the fine balance, right? Like, Colleen, you started with that, of this idea of there's just so much to read. Yeah. Like, why would I go back?
I always feel like Athena, like Time's Winged Chariot, like behind me.
Yeah.
Like you are never going to read all the books you want to read.
Right.
Like you are never going to get there. So I'm always very selective in some way, but then other books I'll like pull off a library shelf and be like, oh, that's a cool cover. It's so bizarre.
Right.
I don't know how.
I know.
But I can feel Time's Winged Chariot behind me, breathing its first breath to the end of my reading days.
Oh gosh,
I feel it too.
I feel it. Wait, it's just Charlotte Wood. Okay. I think it's Wood. Is that right? Okay, sorry. I just came.
We'll say that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in charge. That's right.
Yeah. We'll fix it in the show notes.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte.
I think that's what's interesting. Like if I really reflect on when I've gone back to these books, a lot of times it's when I've been disappointed with what I've been reading.
Yes. Yeah. Jumpstart.
That I kind of like, I need to get back into like loving the space.
Yep.
or like I've had so many misses, or like so many starts and stops, and or like just be like, can't. Because I think I just did that recently with The Order of Time. I was like struggling with what I was listening to. I would start books and just be like, they're not connecting, and I'm like, I'm just going to pick this one that I know and get myself back into that space. So I think sometimes, and I think that goes back to the comfort shows.
Right.
It's like when things aren't clicking in other ways, that's something you can go back to.
Love it.
Anyway, now on to the next portion. Thank you for joining the three of us today. We are so happy that you are part of our reading community. Thank you for all your engagement on social media and the platforms of where you're listening to this podcast. We really appreciate it when you give us those thumbs up, make some comments down below, and or share out an episode with a friend. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on our episodes. And thank you so much for listening, for engaging, for following us, and for being part of our community. So for the final portion of the book Podcasters podcast, we recommend a book to you, and it's usually one that we've all read and that we really enjoyed and we want to recommend to you. And Athena, you are going to share the book with us.
Yes, I've lent my copy, so I don't have it to hold up, but it is Florence Knapp, and the book is The Names. I loved this book. I think did I read it first? I can't remember, but I did.
You read it first.
Okay.
Because I read it. Both of us read it because of you, because you recommended it on a podcast in season 1.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Oh, good. I love that book. I thought it was beautiful. It's, all about how a change can make a difference in such huge ways. And in this case, it's about the name of her child, and how, what if the book is broken up into different sections, that if she had named this child different names, what would have happened in their lives. And I'll let you both speak to it as well on that, but it's just beautiful. I think it's beautifully done. I didn't expect that. I remember looking at it for a while and reading the premise and thinking it would be different. I don't know why. I thought it would be not darker, just slightly different than the feeling I had when I read it. And I was like, wow, I loved that. What did you both think of it? How am I doing summarizing?
Go ahead, Rebecca. Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it's about, right? Like a child is born, what were the names? And it was like what the father wanted, what the mother wanted, and what the sister wanted as the name, essentially, is what we're following in this phase. And in some way, it's, if you like time, it's that parallel lives, right? Like you're looking at, like, people talk about parallel lives all the time, but this is a book that's investigating what this life would be if this was the name versus this, and also the power of names in that space, and what that does. Like, you think about that in things like numerology and all of that, like it all counts and it all means something. And so, like, the meaning of names. And so I think it would be so fun as a writer to work through that space of saying, I'm going to take this character, give them 3 different names, and then just like run out their life.
Yeah.
But what I felt was really fascinating to me about it, I thought the story was really good, but that we get moments throughout where we do see those parallels. Yeah. I'm not going to go into all the details, but there's this moment where something happens, and it's happening to the one person that's named Bear, and then there's the other named person that they're seeing it happen in their neighborhood, but they don't know what's going on, because it's not them anymore. It was like, whoa. Like, for me, that's that real time travel-y type space of like how the spiral of time works, of like how it all connects and you're living simultaneously, so that even though you're not experiencing that because that's not your name this time, but you're still experiencing as a spectator. Like,
yeah.
I don't have mine to hold up because it's been through me, my friend, my mother-in-law. Now my cleaning lady has it. Like, I'm just like every time it comes back to me, I'm cycling it out to somebody else. And I mean, all 3 characters are so well developed, and for me, that's like the candy for me. I felt like it was just consummately readable, and I didn't want to put it down. Every time I had a minute, I wanted to read some of it again. And I remember Athena saying what it was about, and then realizing what it was, because I was like, well, that's an interesting premise, but I didn't realize we got to like follow these three people
Yeah.
and like follow them. And another thing that Rebecca said about how the like bees, right? Like there's bees in every story, but they play a completely different role.
Right.
And how the relationships are affected by a name. And I loved it. And there was one person I saw busting on it on some book Instagram, and they're like, Paul Auster did this. And so I'd be interested in going back and reading the Paul Auster book that did this, but I just thought I had never read anything like that book.
Mm-hmm.
So I hadn't read anything like it. So felt exhilarating to read it, actually, because it's rare to kind of come upon something that feels so different in form at this point. So it was really cool.
Agreed.
Very readable. 10 stars.
Yeah.
10 stars.
So we highly recommend The Names. We all really enjoyed it. And I think this is the second time around that it started with one of us, and then we all picked it up after that. So we'll see what the next one brings, if it's going to be a similar situation like that. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We love that you are part of this conversation with us. And since we did take on a listener question in part of this, we want to encourage you to please post any questions or thoughts you're having in the chat, and we pay attention to those. And potentially
when you come back and tell us you read a book and loved it that you got from this podcast, like there's very little that's more exhilarating to me.
Yeah.
To all of us. It's like so exciting to be part of that for people.
Absolutely. And potentially your question might become one of our podcast episodes. Woo! So feel free to add your questions or your thoughts or experiences or even books that you're loving. We'd love to hear it. So thanks for joining us today.
Happy
Bye.
reading. Bye.